Buenos dias. My name is Luz Maria Frias, and I serve as Director of the Human Rights and Equal Economic Opportunity for the City of St. Paul. It's my pleasure in welcoming you this morning to St. Paul's official kickoff for the 2010 census. St. Paul is known as a city of neighborhoods. Although each neighborhood has its distinct feel and identity, diversity in its many forms is a common thread that weaves the fabric of our great city. As policymakers, we recognize the strength of our communities and rely on their partnership in promoting St. Paul's interests and future. We started planning for the census about 2 years ago. One of Mayor Chris Coleman's first steps was to create his own Census 2010 task force. We were very intentional on ensuring that we were inclusive of our community partners and that they represented those that needed to be ensured to be counted. Mayor Chris Coleman's task force co-chairs are here with us this morning, Yusuf Mjeni and Diane Warner. We also have other task force members, representatives from the business sector, the philanthropic community, St. Paul Public Schools, ethnic and immigrant communities, labor, the faith community, battered women, Ramsey County, and community-based organizations, as well as the Minnesota Demographic Center. And they're joining us this morning, and you'll hear more about the interests that they represent from the various speakers that we have lined up this morning as well. We especially would like to recognize the Council of Mexico, Ana Luisa Pajer, for her partnership on the Mayor's Task Force and leading the effort in a community that's hard to count. Thank you. Without further ado, please help me welcome Mayor Chris Coleman, the Mayor of St. Paul.
Luz, thank you for your incredible work getting all this together. You would think that, after all these decades, we would be used to kind of getting together for the census, but, every 10 years we do it, and then we kind of fall off, and then we got to rebuild the effort. But every year that we talk about the census, every time we talk about it, we talk about how incredibly important this is for our community. So I want to thank our task force chairs and all of our members, everyone in the community that's been helping us pull this together. I also want to thank Cub Foods for allowing us to invade your space, and hopefully the task force members have not been squeezing your fruit and bruising the apples. But if they do, let me know, and we'll make them serve on the task force next time too. As you can see, the census is constitutionally mandated. We get that. We know that we have to do it. But it's a lot more than just that constitutional mandate. It is not just about what you have to do. It is about what we need to do to make sure that every person in this community is counted and that every person in this community counts. The census really dictates a lot of what happens on a lot of different levels over the coming decade. It obviously has a role in selection of the number of congressional delegates that you have. But when you think about it from a pure financial standpoint, the census can mean an additional $10,000 over the next year or next 10 years for every resident that is counted during this census process. So this is real dollars and cents. It's a real significant amount of money. It may mean the difference between us doing some things and not having the resources that we need to do to be able to do that. It's estimated that in the 2000 census, because of an undercount in that 2000 census, we lost nearly $40 million in federal funds, just simply because we didn't get out and we didn't count everybody, and not everyone responded to that survey. I think sometimes a lot of the reasons why people don't respond to those surveys is because they've listened to some of the rumors and some of the myths about what happens with the census information. It does not get turned over to INS. It does not get turned over to the FBI or the CIA. That is not what this is about. And let me just tell you, it does not get turned over to the Republican Party, who sent out what I think was a rather disturbing solicitation for funds a couple of weeks ago that is absolutely inappropriate. People need to understand the census is serious business, and we shouldn't be using it for political gain or political purposes. We should simply be out there counting the members of our community. So please, we want everyone to reach out. To our faith community, we want to make sure that we are reaching out to every member of our churches, to our immigrant community, to all of our low-income communities and minority communities. Please get out there, make sure people are counted, make sure that St. Paul and Ramsey County and the state of Minnesota get the resources that they are entitled to as a result of the census count. Let's keep on working, and thanks to everyone that's been participating in this. Thank you very much.
Most marketing folks tell you that someone has to be exposed to the same message about 7 times before they actually begin to understand it and integrate it. So our approach really has been to reach out in as many ways as we can possible to really drive down that message that the mayor speaks of, is that we all need to work together to be counted. And to that end, we've worked very closely with St. Paul Public Schools from the very start, and certainly our co-chair from the public school system has been instrumental in that. But we have the board chair with us this morning to share some comments, and I'll have you welcome then our chair, Alona Street-Seward. Thank you.
Well, good morning and welcome to everyone. I want to be able to take a few minutes this morning to talk to you about how St. Paul Schools will be doing our part to make sure that everyone is counted. I also think that I want to take advantage of recognizing that your chair of the Board of Education is an American Indian woman. And this morning, we began the census for the 2010 up in Alaska in a native village, making sure that your first residents of this continent were also counted. So what a wonderful way for me to be able to say I bring greetings from all of our nations here, making sure that everyone is recognized. St. Paul Schools, of course, has many, many families involved in the work that we do, and we want you to know that already we have been taking part, particularly in the area of translations and providing maps, so that in the targeted strategy efforts, all families will be connected, and the resources that we have in being able to provide translations and to be able to make sure that materials are available in those languages, to make sure that, in fact, as we address the issues of where people live, all neighborhoods and zones in our community will be identified, and we'll do our part to be able to provide those materials and the human resources to do that. In addition, we know that, yes, one of our co-chairs of the mayor's complete count is one of the members of our administration, but we also want you to know that actually in our schools, working with our social studies teachers, we have a census in the schools committee. And so they will be working to make sure that we're doing everything, even at school sites, to get the information out to families. As you've already heard, it is extremely important that we have an accurate count, and we will need to do everything we can to make sure that people provide the authentic response to the questions and not to be confused by other efforts that may be going on that may have nothing actually to do with the census count. Because what is recorded now will be the basis of decisions for the next 10 years about what will be happening regarding housing and employment and education and health services. I want to say that again. Everything that is recorded now will be the basis of decisions for the next 10 years. So we want to make sure that we will do our part to have that accurate information. And finally, I want to be able to share with you that it is important to make sure that all communities are counted. We are literally standing here under the sign that says fresh. So we want the information up to date and connected. That is the best way we will be able to serve all residents in the United States. And keeping in mind that we all are here. We are proud of who we are here living in this country. So make sure your neighbors and the people that you work with, your family members, and anyone, in fact, that you realize may have questions about the census, it is incumbent upon us to make sure that they get the accurate information, have their questions answered, and to be able to provide the information in a way that they know they can trust. So I thank you very much for being able to say St. Paul Schools is involved. We will continue to do our part, and we are so grateful for being able to have this recognition today. Thank you.
One of our other greatest segments in our society is those of our workers. Our workers across the city are valuable advocates who help get the job done in more ways than one and across the board. So with us this morning is Bernie Hess, representing the United Food and Commercial Workers, Local 789, to speak more about their efforts.
The workers in this store are represented by the Food and Commercial Workers Union, and we'd like to thank Cub for opening up their doors today for this. It's sometimes some other retailers are a little hesitant to do some civic engagement, so this was good. Labor is going to dig in. We're part of a larger group, the St. Paul Regional Labor Federation, and there's also the AFL and Change to Win. Labor gets it. You'll hear it over and over again. Everybody counts, but we are prepared to dig in to do the heavy lifting, to either get it out to our retail sites, job sites, or packing houses and nursing homes, to make sure everybody understands how important this is and how important they are to be a part of this process. So we thanks for all the work that's been done already. We're ready to dig in and get to work on this. Thank you.
Not many people know this, but the various communities of color have really stepped up to the plate in terms of organizing their efforts under what's called the Complete Count Committee. And every community of color in the state of Minnesota has undertaken that challenge and really organized their efforts within their particular communities to make sure that they have the best count possible. Wearing many hats this morning, one of which is representing the Asian Pacific Islander Complete Count Committee. Please help me welcome Bao Vang.
Thank you for having us here. I just wanted to highlight some of the things that we're doing on behalf of the Asian Complete Count Committee. I think this is probably the only one time where we all come together in a nonpartisan way to make sure that every citizen in the state of Minnesota gets counted, whether they're a citizen or not. And so some of the work that we're doing, we understand that being a refugee immigrant community, that we are the hardest to enumerate community. And that's due to a number of reasons. Of course, the list is long, but we know we have language barriers. We know that we also have a lack of understanding from our communities as far as the census, the purpose of the census, what it's used for, and how that could help us and benefit us. We also have second migration, and we also have people who fear, and have a distrust in the government. And so we are on the ground working with our communities. We know that we need to distill these fears, and we need to build confidence in our people, and we need to educate them. We have over 100 organizations that's part of our collaborative in the state of Minnesota, and we're very proud to also launch a website that will allow us to connect with people or organizations that are API that's doing this work throughout the state of Minnesota. And so if they have upcoming events or activities, or if they need help in reaching out to areas where they know that they're going to have a hard time getting the information to, that's how we use that information to communicate with one another and to build a strong core of volunteers who could be on the ground with these families. We also know that as nonprofit organizations, we oftentimes have to place people outside of Minnesota for employment in our neighboring states. And sometimes these families only come home once a month or every other month. And we want to make sure that those individuals are counted in our state and not our neighboring state. We also know that with the foreclosure crisis that we have multiple families living under one roof. And we know the fear of communicating that, and we want to make sure that they understand the census data is going to be protected and safeguarded. So I call upon all of us to play a role in this, because I know that Minnesota will be the highest state count at the end when we're done. Thank you.
They say experience cannot be measured in its weight in gold. And I look at our next speaker, and that's what I think of. I think of Lester Collins and the number of census efforts that he's helped with. And we're just so fortunate to have him be a part of our team. He serves as the executive director of the Council of Black Minnesotans and is here to talk to you more about the level of trust that's needed in the communities of color, and particularly his community. Thank you.
My thanks to all of you as part. I wasn't sure whether I should bother that or not. Anyway, my thanks to all of you. I also happen to wear another hat. I gladly just ended the statewide celebration for the Martin Luther King holiday, and at that event was one of our official larger kickoffs as it relates to the census. We had about 3,000 people there, and with the help of the state and others, we passed out some real good goodies. I think we got some of them today in bags here, and it is part of our hope that those tokens, if you will, of appreciation, flashlights, and all those other kind of good things. I even got a hat that I should have put on today that are hopefully reminders to people of how important the census is. I would like to say that there is opportunity, 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 and I think with all the challenges that we have in this state, particularly in our communities of color, that there is opportunity here. There are money, dollars available. And with a complete count of all individuals within our community, there are dollars, as have been stressed here today, to be had. There are also levels of mistrust, some lack of experience or knowledge as it relates to census. We've been working with our Native African communities throughout the state. We've done some, I think, successful hiring, and we have partnered. And I want to thank the mayor and others in terms of that effort as we move along. So again, I encourage, again, our religious, our civic, and other partners to continue to work with us as we come to the date of this very important event. April 2010 is a very important date But again, there is opportunity, and we can take advantage of it. So thanks.
Policymakers at every level rely and depend on accurate information. At any given point in time, we find ourselves going to the state demographer's website to assess what level of community strengths and growth kind of projections are there, and the income levels and kind of the different pockets per zip codes, and just the very minute details. In order to have access to that data, the demographer's office has to have accurate data to put in. And to speak to that point, we have then Tom Gillespie, who's our state demographer.
Thank you. And you've all heard just how important the census is for programs, for dollars, for schools, for roads, for bridges, for light rail transit, and all the other purposes. But there is another reason for the census, and it's the reason that the census is in the Constitution, is that once every 10 years, we decide again, based on population, how many congressional members each state will have, and then all the legislative and congressional seats or districts are redrawn based on population. This time, it's going to be really, really close for Minnesota. We are projecting almost no difference among several states for that last seat, and there is a chance that we could lose our 8th congressional seat. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we continue to have good representation in Washington, and we also want to make sure that we have good representation in the state legislature. So to be counted, and that's the way we keep that good legislation. And I believe that if we are all counted, and if we count everyone in Minnesota, that we will continue to keep our 8 congressional seats. But there's also something else. There's something else in the census. 10 years ago, Minnesota and Iowa tied for the highest response rate to the census, and I just want to say that this time, Minnesota, go and beat Iowa.
One of the initiatives that we had in our office and among our census team was to really collaborate with the clergy and the food shelves around the city to distribute what we have now is our census calendar with Mayor Coleman's task force participation as well. And this effort was something that was really extraordinary in my mind, because we reached out to literally thousands of individuals through the food baskets that were distributed over the holidays. It was an attempt to really think about how we can convey this message in a way that is typically outside of what is thought of during the holidays, and really have people know that their voices count at every level. And with us this morning is Grant Abbott from the St. Paul Area Council of Churches to tell you more about their efforts as well.
The St. Paul Area Council of Churches is a 104-year-old organization that serves 700 congregations in the East Metro, bringing congregations and faith communities together to overcome poverty, promote peace, and to dismantle racism and other barriers that divide our community. This whole project is important to us because in every faith tradition, there is a sense of the sacredness of every human being. As the mayor said, everybody counts and everybody deserves to be counted. So we're going to do all that we can to put information on our website, to get the information to all of the clergy, because we do not serve just Christian denominations. We're a non-proselytizing organization. We work with all the faith communities, all of the ethnic communities. So we will do everything we can so that religious leaders throughout our city will have the information they need to make sure that everybody is counted and to help everybody to know that they deserve to count. Thank you.
Over a year ago, the U.S. Census Office came to St. Paul and launched their first office opening in the entire country. They chose St. Paul for a reason. They know that we are committed to the census and we're there to perform. And we have our regional director, Dennis Johnson, here. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that you're here with us today, because I'm pretty convinced that you'll be back and let us know that we're going to be the first one in the country again to outperform all the other cities in the country. Welcome.
Mayor Coleman, I'm impressed. This is a tremendous outpouring of support, and that support is necessary. I'll lay it out for you. My staff can go through the mechanics of conducting a census, but we cannot do it accurately and completely without your help. And I think that's what you've heard this morning. We need your help. The odd thing about the census is we've got one chance to get it right. There's no instant replay, no do-overs. We got to get it right the first time. And to do it right, everyone has to be involved. So let's talk about that. How can you be involved? Number one, when you get that census form, you fill it out, you put it back in the mail, and you become part of that highest percentage of any state in the nation that Tom talked about. Secondly, you use whatever pulpit, whatever podium, whatever communication vehicle you have to get the word out to encourage everyone you can how important this is, and encourage them to fill out their form and mail it back in. And third, the great thing about the census is this. It's being done all over the country, but at its very basic sense, it is a community effort. It's being conducted by members of your community, neighbors. In fact, just this morning I met with a group of people being trained for the very first operations. They're your neighbors. They live right here. And they're going to be conducting our census right here. It's not something where the big government comes in and takes something from you. It's where your community joins together in partnership and comes together for a complete count. So let's get the word out about jobs. Let's make sure people understand that we need their help to conduct this census. And they need to call the toll-free number and get in tune with the jobs and be a part of the process to make sure their community is counted accurately. I want to thank you again for the support you've shown, and I know that this will be a very successful census because of you. Thank you very much.
I'll close by saying that in 2000, we had a response rate of 74%. We're challenging ourselves today to make sure that we surpass that figure this time around, but we even go higher than that, and we are then the highest performing city in the country. And without your help, that's not possible, but with your help, I know that you can do it. So I hope that we will see each other again in about 8 months and celebrate our incredible figures and our incredible success. Thank you for coming.